Most people believe that building wealth requires mastering complex systems, the perfect portfolio allocation, the optimal tax strategy, the right real estate market timing, buying the dip, finding the next Tesla or Nvidia when it's priced at £1 per share. They think that successful people have some secret knowledge that justifies spending hours researching the latest financial guru's method or finding that financial edge. But here's what actually separates wealthy people from everyone else. They obsess over and master one simple principle, while everyone else gets lost in the complexity. It's so basic that it will seem like something a 10-year-old could tell you. Now, I spent a good chunk of my 20s overcomplicating my own finances and focusing on the wrong things that didn't move the needle, so I'm speaking firsthand from experience here. Today, I'm breaking down this principle using behavioral science, showing you how to implement it without relying on willpower, and revealing what you'll actually need to do to speed up your own wealth building journey. I promise you that if you follow this core principle, you'll build wealth. The formula is embarrassingly simple. Live on less than you make and invest the difference. That's it. Not optimize your asset allocation across 12 different investment accounts. Not leverage real estate while minimizing tax exposure through strategic company formations. Just create a gap, or how I like to call it, some margin. Create some margin between what comes in and what goes out, and put that margin to work. But here's what most people miss. This isn't about becoming a monk who eats one meal a day, never socializes, never goes on holidays or trips, and never buys things. It's about becoming intentional with where your money flows, instead of letting lifestyle inflation consume every raise you get or every spare money that you have. So, how do we implement this? I would just start by tracking 1 week of your current spending. Just observe and see what you find out. Most people discover that they're unconsciously hemorrhaging money on subscriptions that they forget about and convenience purchases that add up to hundreds a month sometimes. Yes, I'm talking to you if you use Uber Eats to order lunch and dinner multiple times a week. Yes, I know it's nice, I know it's convenient, but it is money you do not need to be spending. Now here, the goal isn't judgment, it's awareness. Money, I think, is ultimately a tool that should be used to design the life that you want to build. Now, what you need to ask yourself is, are you spending money in a way that is aligned with who you want to be, or who you want to become, with what your goals are in both the short and the long term? Once you have this awareness of how you're spending your money, you'll then be able to understand and figure out areas where you can build in some margin into your life. Once that's done, I would set up automatic transfers to a separate savings and investing account the day after your paycheck hits your bank account. This is the concept of, paying yourself first. Start with whatever amount feels almost too easy, an amount that you wouldn't miss if it's not there. The key here is automatic, right? You need to automate this future wealth building, you need to automate this paying yourself first. Remove the decision from your future self, who will definitely find a way to spend money on, whatever nonsense that takes your fancy in that given month. Now, this formula works so well because it bypasses the biggest enemy of wealth building, which is our own psychology as humans. When you rely on willpower to save money, you're fighting a battle that you literally can't win long term. And I'm taking a long-term view on this. Our brains are wired to prioritize immediate gratification over the future benefits that you can't see or feel in the moment. They aren't tangible right now. So obviously, if you had the choice between putting money into a pensions account, a retirement account, so that it can grow over the next 30 years, so that you at 65 years old has enough money for a comfortable retirement, versus, what, I want to go book that trip to America because, I'm in my 20s and YOLO, I'm only living once, let me just go buy that plane ticket, fund my trip on a credit card. Obviously the instinct is going to be for the immediate gratification, but what I'm trying to say is that this is the way you go through your life without ever building any wealth. Now, you might be thinking this sounds too simple to actually work, which, funnily enough, is exactly why it does work. Complexity is often just procrastination, that we disguise as optimization, or we try to implement so many complex systems without focusing on the key things that actually move the needle. So the reason why people struggle to implement this is because, like with most things, you know what the right thing to do is, but we aren't able to do it consistently because we haven't built the right habits. So now I want to just go through a brief framework that uses behavioral science to try to automate this habit or make this habit a little bit easier to implement consistently across your life. Inspired. So first step, make it obvious. This ties into my automation point. Automate everything that you can. Like I said earlier, automate your savings, your investments. I'd automate your bill payments. Reduce any friction for you actually managing your money manually. The more decisions you remove from your daily life when it comes to your money, the more mental energy you preserve for actually making the decisions that matter with your money. If you automatically put money to your savings, to your investments at the beginning of each month, you build the skill of learning how to live on less than you make, because the money is already not there in your bank account and you do not spend what is not there. Secondly, make it attractive. You have to try to see, through this decision I'm making now, by doing what I'm doing now, in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, 15 years' time, will this lead to me becoming the person that I want to be, to being in the financial situation that I want to be in? An easy way to do this is just open up any retirement calculator that you can find online and see what your automated investments become over 20 years. Type in and see, if I invest £200 a month at a 6 or 7% rate of return over the next 20, 30 years, see what your retirement pot would be and compare that to what it would be if you're carrying on using your money as you are now. And you will see that it makes a very, very big difference when you can actually visualize and actualize what these actions that don't grant you any short-term satisfaction could do for future you in the long term. Make it real, make it visual, make it compelling enough so that your brain stops seeing you putting money away for savings and investing in your future self, so that you stop seeing it as a punishment and seeing it as part of your strategy for a fulfilled life full of comfort, both today and in the future, because you've done the hard work, you've made the sacrifices that you need to make to build the wealth. And then lastly, I just say, make it satisfying. Celebrate the small wins. Celebrate once you get your investment account to £1,000, to £5,000, whatever it might be. If you're in debt and you manage to pay off one of your debts on your debt payoff journey, celebrate it, congratulate yourself. Track your progress visually. Have like a little chart on your wall or a spreadsheet that maps your progress. Maybe have a net worth tracker so you can see, that my net worth is moving in the right direction and I'm actually making a lot of progress here. Your brain needs positive feedback loops to maintain behavior, especially so with wealth building, because the ultimate reward won't happen in the next few months, even the next few years. It happens 10, 20, 30 years down the line. So you need to engender these positive feedback loops into your brain in order to make this habit of paying yourself first, living on less than you make, and investing the difference sustainable. Now, one reason why some people struggle with this is because of something called the spotlight effect. One big reason why people struggle to live on less than what they make is because of something called the spotlight effect, which really kills your wealth. This is when you think people are paying more attention to you than actually they do in practice. You feel like you're always under the spotlight. You think people notice what kind of car you drive, the brand of your clothes, how many holidays you go on a year, what type of holidays you go on a year, how much you are able to go to restaurants and spend money. You think that everyone is worrying about you, and you think that you have to present yourself in a certain way to gain the approval of your peers and whatnot. Now, let me, hate to break it to you, but people care way less about your lifestyle choices than you think they do. Everyone's too busy worrying about their own image to judge yours, right? Like this happened with my father. He used to always lease and finance expensive cars to try and impress his neighbors, impress his future clients. And honestly, I doubt they cared. I doubt they noticed. And, he made decisions that reduced the margin he had in life to invest for the future, all in the misguided, misguided want and desire to, play these prestige games and try to impress people. You don't need to, right? Money is a tool to design the life that you want. You should figure out what brings you value, what brings you fulfillment, and spend your money on that. And if it isn't on things that people think you should buy, like oh yeah, I think I should buy a nice car, new clothes, fancy holidays, you know, just consuming random things regularly, always online shopping, always buying new random stuff for your house that you never, even use after one or two occasions, This is the kind of thing that you need to eliminate, and, understanding the spotlight effect helps you, break free of that, story that you tell yourself. Now, I will say that whilst expense reduction is a good way to build this margin, it does have a ceiling, right? And really, the better way to go about viewing this is actually through income growth, because your income has a higher upside for how much it can grow versus how many expenses you can cut from your life. You can only cut so much before you start becoming miserable and start living a super frugal and unfulfilling life. But there's no cap on how much value you can bring to your workplace, how much you can progress through your career journey, career ladder, or how much value you can create for others, right? The fastest way to create a larger margin in your life isn't by cutting out one £5 Starbucks coffee a week. It's by increasing your income by 100, 200, £500 per month through strategic skill development, right? I would focus on skills that directly translate into higher compensation in your current field. Or, develop abilities that let you serve people outside of your day job if you want to start a side hustle or something like that. Now, the goal isn't to become a productivity machine, isn't to obsess over money, it's just to strategically increase your earning potential so that wealth building becomes easier and not harder, because you're building a larger margin for yourself that you can invest into, your future self. This approach works because it aligns with how your brain actually operates instead of how you think it should operate, right? You're not becoming a different person, you're just designing better systems for the person that you already are. When you can comfortably live on, let's say, 60%, 70% of your income while investing the rest, money stops becoming a source of stress for you, and it starts becoming a tool that you use to acquire freedom for yourself in the future. That's when you start winning the money game and winning the wealth building game. There it is. Wealth isn't about depriving yourself or timing markets perfectly or doing a million of these, get rich quick schemes or hacks that people have got a lot of advice for you on the internet. It's just, when you break it down, it's about making intentional choices with your money instead of letting it disappear into the void of unconscious spending. So yeah, if you found this useful, I'd really recommend, doing this sort of like spending awareness check, and then making the step of actually automating your savings, picking an amount that you want to save and invest for the future, and just get it set up. It's super easy. Most banks, if not all banks, have this option just to do auto transfers from your current account to your savings account. And yeah, just start. The enemy of progress is perfectionism, as they say. A shakier start is better than no start at all. And yeah, so honestly, people who become wealthy, they aren't more disciplined at the end of the day. They just have learned the skill of building better systems to use their money more intentionally. So yeah, I'll leave you with that. Go build your own system. And yeah, if you've enjoyed the video, thank you very much. Leave a like, leave a comment. Would love to hear what you guys have to say about what I'm talking about. And yeah, I will speak with you all soon. Take care, everyone.